Hello, thank you for watching the More Than Now show. Today we're going to talk about an attack to the food supply, in particular to cattle, our red meat supply. And I'm going to start by showing a clip of Redacted that they had on yesterday that is going into pharmaceuticals and vaccines, a vaccine that Bill Gates wants cows to have, and pharmaceuticals that Denmark government is mandating their cattle have, which is likely to spread into the UK and other countries. And then we will be going into some of the new updates on this whole tick issue. If you are unaware, there is a tick that is called the Lone Star tick that if you're bitten by it, you can end up with a meat allergy. Not a little sensitivity, but a full-blown meat allergy in which 60% of cases end up with anaphylaxis. So we are having an attack on the meat supply. I want to get into it, and then I want to wrap up just briefly touching on how all of this reason that they claim that we need to do all these interventions with cattle, which is the whole climate control nonsense, it's all fake. And I'm going to touch on the latest story on how cattle actually help carbon emissions. So, all right, let's get into it. I'm going to start with this redacted clip.
They're killing the cows over methane. Last week on the show, we talked about, of course, Bill Gates wants to do this in the United States. He's suing a couple of states now because he wants to have control. He's specifically suing the state of Texas over this. But in Europe, it's already happening. It's already rolled out. And now these cows with this methane additive added to their food, they're just falling over dead. So these globalists who want you to stop eating meat, this is all part of their plan. They would love nothing more for these farmers to give up their farmlands and, of course, open up new apartment complexes and all of those things. So
I'm going to skip just a little bit ahead, and they're going to go into more of the specifics of this pharmaceutical that is being added to the feed of cattle in Denmark and how it's going to be spreading into other countries.
Want you eating meat. Under this new green tripartite agreement, Danish farmers have to feed their cows Bovaer for 80 days every year, whether they like it or not. And if they don't comply, well, they're breaking the law. You will go to prison. Farmers are furious, but they have no choice, of course. Other EU countries are planning to follow in Denmark's footsteps. Now, once this chemical is added, many cows won't even touch their feed. They don't eat, and then they're dying. A Danish dairy farmer, Hubert van Dorp, explains his personal experiences with the Bovaer feed additive. He says it has affected the health of his cows, causing symptoms such as high fevers, mastitis, fatigue, and even the death of his cows. Watch.
All right, so one has to ask, I mean, if this is doing this to the cattle, then what's it going to do to the humans that consume the meat from the cattle? Apparently, that doesn't matter to these globalists that want to make it so that we eat less meat. And also, I'm going to skip ahead now and show how there's vaccines in work to help these cattle emit less carbon emissions.
And it will still be fine. Last week on the show, Natalie explained how here in the U.S., Bill Gates wants to vaccinate cows and lower the methane output. He's backing a company called Arca-Bio. Gates says that livestock is the problem. He's also backing a U.S. company called Ruminate, which provides these additives to food. So it's coming to the United States. We need to stop it right now.
Yes, so as he said, it will be spreading to the United States and to other countries. And furthermore, you're very much allowed in the United States to take meat from other countries and package it in the United States and then pass it off as USDA beef, as United States beef, just if it's packaged here. So, don't just think like, oh, this is happening over there. That's so bad for them. Think about how this could end up on our plates here, either because our government implements it or meat packaging facilities end up with meat from overseas and then package it here and then try to pass it off as American beef. So I'm going to skip ahead into another part of this where they go into how Bill Gates is trying to get meat on our grocery shelves that is fake, not just, plant-based, but fake lab grown from cancer tumors. So let's get into that right now.
Of saving the planet, like this. Lab-grown meat is now on our store shelves. Florida has already banned it. Texas banned it. They use human cancerous tumors to make this meat. Bill Gates is behind one of these companies, and is now suing the state of Texas over banning of this fake meat. And Alex Jones just posted a thing about being pissed about this. Watch.
You are about to see total proof that the U.S. government has created a long-term program and a plan to replace all forms of real meat, salmon, tilapia, beef, chicken, turkey, duck, pork, with human cancer cells from a black woman that's mass produced. So you're not just eating dead people, you're eating a dead black woman who had the most aggressive, fast-growing cancer ever recorded. Now, Texas and 10 other states have just banned it. Bill Gates has sued, as of yesterday, the state of Texas with his two companies to force Texans to eat lab-grown fake meat cultured with immortal cell lines from Henrietta Lacks and others.
Totally disgusting, right? I want to get into something that Governor DeSantis pointed out before, because there were these increases in cases of meat allergies where people are getting bit by the Lone Star tick and they are ending up with meat allergies because of a tick bite. And of course, conspiracy theorists started thinking, well, I bet, they're probably engineering these like they do to mosquitoes. Oh my gosh, my kid's wobbling my desk. So if the camera's wobbling, that's what's going on. So, let's look at this. So let's look at what DeSantis is pointing out. This is the governor of Florida, if you're unaware. It says, this is an example of why entities like the World Economic Forum and World Health Organization are persona non grata in Florida, genetically engineering humans to become allergic to meat because some elites think people eat too much of it is insane. Let us alone. All right, so this is a World Economic Forum bioethnist talking about how he wants to genetically modify humans so that they become allergic to meat. And yes, he is going to talk about this Lone Star tick.
So I'll give two examples. So one is that people eat too much meat, right? And if they were to cut down on their consumption on meat, then they would it would actually really help the planet. But people are not willing to give up meat. Yeah, some people will be willing to, but other people, they may be willing to, but they have a weakness of will. They say, wow, this steak is just too juicy. I can't do it. I'm one of those, by the way. So, so here's the thought, right? So it turns out that we know a lot about, we have these intolerance to, for example, I have milk intolerance. And some people are intolerant to crayfish. So possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering. Another.
Yikes, 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 yikes. So props to DeSantis for pointing this out. I also like how down here he says the notion that cattle are destroying the planet has always been ridiculous. And I'm going to get into recent studies that prove that. Let's look at this Lone Star tick for a minute because, like I said, there was some theories going around, like what's up with a tick causing meat allergy. Conveniently, at the same time, the World Economic Forum is trying to get people to stop eating meat and eat bugs, like we're reptiles or something. Yeah, it's not that like, oh, we just want to eat meat because it's just so juicy and tasty. Although, yes, I mean, it does taste good, but a lot of people have learned that this old mentality of like red meat bad, margarine good, that like eating meat and eating butter is actually good for us. So, this is a big deal that like if we can't eat meat. So here's according to the CDC, this is the tick, this is the meat allergy. It is called alpha-gal syndrome, AGS. It says it is a serious, potentially life-threatening allergy and tick-borne disease. Okay, so basically, a tick gives this to the person that it bites. Not everybody bit by the Lone Star tick gets AGS, but it is a growing concern. I will tell you from personal experience that your mainstream allergists are aware of it because um, one of its key symptoms is that it usually causes a delayed reaction. So you might eat meat and then a few hours later get sick from it, have an allergic reaction. So if you are having a delayed allergic reaction to something, you may find your allergist giving you a blood test for AGS. So, anyways, it says more than 110,000 suspected cases of AGS were identified between 2010 and 2022. However, they think that now the actual number in 2025 is as high as 450,000 people. The risk factor is getting bit by the tick. The prevention is just basically eating meat. You can't have, let's see, most healthcare providers recommend patients with AGS stop eating meat from mammals such as beef, pork, lamb, venison, or rabbit. All right, so I'm curious. Let's dig a little bit further. I asked, this tick engineer, is there a tick that's engineered to cause meat allergy? And it says, no, that's a conspiracy theorist theory. Claims that a genetically engineered tick is responsible for causing meat allergies in humans are false. That the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are genetically modifying the Asian blue tick, which has been conducted only in a laboratory setting in the UK, but they have not been working on a Lone Star tick. So it's the Asian blue tick that they're working on. Nobody worry about it. I'm sure this is nothing. It's not coming from anybody, even though they seem very happy that it's making people sick and allergic to meat. So, yes, here again, I ask, is the Gates Foundation Lone Star tick? It says they're not funding research involving the Lone Star tick. Okay, I was very curious. I mean, it is curious that they are genetically modifying Asian blue tick and that he has genetically modified mosquitoes, which have been released to Florida. So I really don't know how DeSantis plans on stopping a release of something if it is engineered. So here I asked, how long has a Lone Star tick been in America? And it says the Lone Star tick, scientifically known as big scientific name, has been known since at least 1758. All right. Historically, its range extended across the Northeast, but it retreated to the Southeast and South Central United States following widespread logging and overhunting of its host animals in the 1800s. Okay, so we're going to learn here in a couple articles that Guardian, which is, climate commie leaning, says that it's now become more prevalent because of climate change, because the conditions of the world are getting warmer. So now it can move up to the Northeast where it used to not exist. And now it's like when I look it up, look at the history of it, it's saying historically it extended from the Northeast. But okay, going further into it, I ask, has the Lone Star tick always caused a meat allergy? The answer, again, this is just AI, it makes mistakes. The Lone Star tick has not always caused meat allergy. It says, while the tick has been present in the southeastern United States, its range has expanded north and northwest, and the incidence of the allergy has risen dramatically, with a 100-fold increase in positive test results between 2013 and 2024. This surge is linked to climate change, which has extended warm seasons and allowed the tick population to grow and spread into new regions. So then I ask, when was the first case of AGS in America? Okay, and it says that it was reported in 2009, and that overall in the world, the first condition was reported in Australia between 2024 and 2004 and 2007. So we're looking at this tick had been around since 1758, but maybe not as prevalent. And then we know its first cause of a meat allergy was in America in 2009, and in the rest of the world between 2004 and 2007. Okay, let's look at this Guardian. This is the Guardian, and this is a explosive increase of ticks that cause meat allergy in U.S. due to climate crisis. This is caused by a climate crisis, guys. Oh my goodness. Lone Star ticks have taken advantage of rising temperatures by the human-caused climate crisis to expand from their heartland in the southeast U.S. to areas previously too cold for them, marching as far north as New York and even Maine. Well, I guess if it's warming up in those places, then maybe it can lengthen their life cycle, but we did see historically that they're already in those places. So, anyways, apparently, as the story goes, that the population of them is booming, and so we're getting more cases of meat allergy. Okay, um, let's just address this whole climate change, this whole rhetoric of we have to give cows pharmaceuticals in their feed or vaccines because, they just fart too much and give too much gas. Like, look, they're just um, methane boxes. They just production factories and the climate change. And oh my God. Okay, so let's see about that. All right, so here this is. It says, I will post this over and over again. Cows Save the World, Shocking Carbon Study. A groundbreaking study from the University of Nebraska presents a paradigm shift in the climate conversation. The research concludes that raising more cattle is a key to a carbon negative future, as they are net positive for the atmosphere, producing more oxygen than the methane and carbon they emit. The surprising prescription? To save the world, we might just need to eat more steak. Hooray! All right, let's hear this clip and then wrap it up.
Reading it, so it's not coming from my mouth. I'm not making it up. But the University of Nebraska just got done with their one of their studies that the way to save the world on carbon is raise more cows.
Okay.
And that's because cows are carbon negative.
Okay.
They produce more oxygen than they put off methane and carbon.
It means to eat more cheeseburgers or steaks, right?
Beef.
To save the world.
To save the world, right.
There you go. Thank you.
So you'll be reading.
There you have it. More lies from the climate commies and the prescription to eat more steak or cheeseburgers. So go on, indulge. Don't feel guilty about it. It's not bad for your health. It's not bad for the climate. Cows and humans have coexisted for a very long time. They have been very useful to humans. Even their poop has been very useful to humans historically, and their manure has lots of uses. And yeah, all this belief that all of a sudden they're just totally bad for us, I think, is just so pharmaceuticals get sold, humans starve, farmers go down, and we end up being forced to eat bugs. I mean, because that's kind of what they're saying. So that's my take. I am so grateful that you've watched. If you've watched up until now, and if you like my content, please do all the things like, share, subscribe, comment, let me know. I very much appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. God bless.